it feels like this is an opportunity to do a reset. Will they squander it?
Good morning, Matt.
Oh, good morning, Will.
And good morning to all of you.
Welcome to Games for Breakfast, the only games talk show on the internet where we talk about not only this week's gaming news, but also where we determined, actually, I won't even take credit for this. I won't even say a we. Will determined the truth of what a Twitch streamer is.
That's right.
Will, tell them what it is, and then I'm going to say the caveat of what that is.
Sure, right. We are your humble bartenders. We are the ones who hold the space for you to come to after work or before work or at lunch from work so that you can relax and hang out with your friends.
And chat with someone who's, interested in hearing what you have to say, etc. Except if you order anything from us, drinks, appetizers, pizza, you will never receive it. That's the only difference. So you feel free. Again, we were telling Brad in the pre-show.
Yep.
Write down what your order is.
That's right.
Janet, you could do it as well. Put your order in the comments.
Right.
You will never get it from us. You might get it from someone else.
Correct.
But if you want the full experience, you're gonna have to engage a third party.
That's correct. We're already getting some really salient comments. Are the nuts still free?
that was the one I was going for.
No, those are actually we have to charge per dish for nuts.
Listen,
with likes and subscribes.
Again, where you are, if there's a bowl of nuts in front of you, I don't know if they're free. Statistically, at the point of open bowl of nuts in front of you, most likely free.
Sure. Or at bare minimum has already been paid for somehow. I don't know if it's like free, but like
it's free for you. Like it's not like it wasn't free to grow them.
You don't
and
have to
gather
pay right now for the nuts.
You've already in some sort of way you've already given financial compensation to the nut people.
I feel like this is how there's like girl math, right? This is now like Twitch math. Which is like girl math only for Twitch streamers.
Got you.
Yeah, it's different. Apparently, Matt, we've
are the napkins free? No, and in fact, we've installed those huge air blaster things under the bar, so you don't ever even use napkins anymore. You just put your hands under the bar and it just goes.
How does that? I love the idea of doing that with glasses, right? Because the standard the bartender thing, right? You got the towel over the shoulder and you're like cleaning the glasses meticulously, right? Yeah, right, exactly. Matt, have you been
day?
Have you been a bartender? It's just like an air dryer going under the bar the whole time.
But like every bar stool has one, right. So it's never quiet. That's Twitch. Did we just describe the Twitch experience to you?
I think we did. Oh, I think we did. Matt. Oh, dear.
Oh, boy.
Oh, all right. Matt, Brad, Janet, it's time. Matt, what are we talking about?
To Stop and Shop. No, sorry, that's an old-ass commercial. Bit of an announcement today. We have already informed Brad as it was going. Whoa, what the hell is that?
You'll see. Just keep talking. Keep talking.
Okay. That distracted the hell out of me. We wanted to let you know here that this will be the last Games for Breakfast on the YouTube channel for the time being.
Yes.
There's a lot of reasons why, but basically, first and foremost, this show will still be going on over on Twitch because it has become literally a community staple over there. Will and I love doing it. We love chatting with you all, and we've been doing it for 5+ years, and we're not stopping anytime soon.
That's great. Can't stop, won't stop.
Can't stop, won't stop. But the talk shows on the main channel were a bit of a learning situation, regardless. We wanted to kind of take the sort of fail faster mentality that we've always had at EC and sort of move that forward. What do you got?
The Twitch chat has discovered that for them, the QR code is reflexive. and they're very pleased with this. If you are on YouTube, this QR code will bring you to our Twitch channel if you haven't already come over.
But Brad is going there now?
Brad is
but
now
they're already here?
Brad is already here, and we didn't explain it, so they're all just scanning the QR code and coming back here, and they're like, hey, that's cool.
Did we just design, by accident, the most effective retention trap?
Right. No, yeah, right.
You can check out anytime you like, but you can never leave.
So for instance, Zariah says, I saw a QR code and extra credits, and it took me here. Hi, everyone. And then their very next message is, oh, look, a QR code.
I'm getting derailed. Okay, that was too good. Brad, you never cease to amaze.
Oh, it's so good.
No, this is directly, obviously, speaking to Janet as well right now. The long short of it was, the numbers never got to where we exactly wanted them, and even though it didn't directly hurt like the channel in general, because again, YouTube will feed you things that sort of subs is only like part of the equation. It also feeds you things that it believes you will like and whatever. So each video gets uploaded kind of on its own merit in a weird way, in a couple different contextualizations. But what it did do that I didn't really think about was we were excited the fact that we were sort of offering basically more, I'll say more than triple the content that we currently could have put out. Because we uploaded basically 2 talk shows, Design Club and Games for Breakfast. One of those every week. Is that correct, Will? Or did we do every other week for Design Club? I'm trying to remember.
We did every other week for Design Club. So it was extra breakfast every week, and then there were
so there was always two videos on the channel every week. Which I think overall is great, but there is sort of, I think, a sweet spot for audience expectation. And with that came, especially while we were trying to figure out our thumbnails and all of that jazz, like if you looked at the sort of the front page of the channel, it got confusing as to what things were. And people did call that out beforehand. We were banking on the fact that it wouldn't muddy any new people coming in that were looking for the animated stuff as well. Anyway, there's a lot of under the hood nonsense there, so it didn't quite hit on that level and caused a little bit of confusion. The second thing that I think we learned, and especially if we want to bring content like this or any new content we bring to the channel, is that it's really about specificity over scattershot. So if you look at both of the talk shows, if you look at Games for Breakfast, the show that you're looking at right now, that you can actually use the QR code right there to go and sub to the Twitch channel where it will still be continuing. And if you did that right now while you're watching this on the Twitch channel, then you just see us again telling you to go to the Twitch channel.
That's correct.
But all of that aside, all of that time loop locking aside, the reason why I think there's a couple different reasons. So I think the great thing that Jeff and Will did for Design Club was the specificity of the subject matter made for a very clean narrative from a thumbnail to title to clickable standpoint. And that got I think the most eyes in possible, where a lot of our stuff, it's a roundup, and that's a harder sell for a channel that is based on like looking at a piece of minutia and examining down into it. It's not that we don't like it. It's that I don't think that level of like scattershotness was ever something that people were expecting. Sorry, Will?
Oh, I was gonna say yes. That's correct, and that's something that showed up in the comments a lot, right? That people wanted like shorter, bite-sized stuff, which is sort of in conflict with this thing that we've always been told, which is that like people want to hear what we're thinking about stuff that's happening right now,
the current events, because all of our stuff is evergreen, or most of the stuff was evergreen before these shows. But that also says that there's a hunger for that kind of content, but possibly in a different format than what we are doing. The other thing was, interestingly enough, it was actually far more work than we anticipated. We thought that sort of getting something over here from Twitch would be less of a lift, but due to be perfectly honest, audio issues I have never experienced in my 20 plus years of professional audio videoing, and things that like professionals who are way smarter than me that I respect could also not figure out. There was like sync issues that are different between every person when we try to match the local audio. Anyway, I don't need to go into the details. It is a lot more work than we thought. to get this over here and then try to design a thumbnail and a title and a description and try to, like, especially for breakfast, I can only speak for that one. And Will, I know you and Jeff are going to talk about Design Club on Design Club.
Yep.
But like, it takes a couple hours just to get that sort of moving. And with all the other responsibilities of the channel, it was just, it was getting to be a bit much.
And while I've learned a lot about like editing, right, I've been learning Premiere more deeply as we go. I've got some editing experience, but like, relearning it for modern Premiere and stuff, and I've learned a lot. It still takes time away from streaming, which is where I feel like I'm better, right?
I'll go on a limb, Will, and say you're great. You're great at streaming.
Yeah. So the cost in time was higher than the cost in time that could be spent on other projects, other things, was higher than we really wanted it to be.
And speaking of that brings me to sort of like my last, well, actually, I guess my two last points. One was sort of like, we are still a small studio with limited resources. And what I want to do from the YouTube side of things, what I want to do is cause the level of growth and excitement that the channel split caused for extra history, to start happening over on Extra Credits again.
Yep.
And I found that with the amount of time that we were working on these shows, that ate into a lot of the like extra time we would have to like work on the other ideas on the back burner.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
I was gonna say, and we both have those ideas, and Jeff has those ideas. We have so many ideas, I think, that you'll see the best of those probably.
And I'll even say you'll see one or two of the worst of them. The point is, I want to try a lot of new stuff that is different from what this is, different from what the other stuff is, the animated stuff is, but that all kind of would help fit and feel like a cohesive whole on one channel. And having to convert this over was a lot more work for the very limited number of people that touch it than we thought it would be. So the idea is now, if we're not doing that, we can kind of go back into our ideas bin that we've all sort of thrown things into and develop new stuff for y'all that we hope you like. And the last thing, which I think was always a hindrance in all of that stuff, is we are at the whim of the news cycle. So if scattershot is not the thing that we think people want, and then we still have a scattershot of stories depending on what is going on each week, that also leads for things that would probably reach less and less people. Like, I know... even though, and thank you to everyone in the comments who had so much fun with the Halloween episode last week. We had a blast with that. That was also our, I think, lowest one we've done in a while. And I think that has to do with the fact it was just a slow, odd news week. And we chose what we thought would be the best story for the thumbnail and everything. But it obviously was too niche to sort of go anywhere with the format that we were doing. So that was always been something that Will and I have struggled with, I feel like, is trying to make sure that even on slow news weeks, we get something that a lot of people would gravitate towards. That has been difficult. Yeah, so that's basically it. Again, the show itself is still going to exist 11 a.m. Eastern on twitch.tv/extra credits. If only there was a QR code that you could scan to go check it out or sub there or follow there. Sorry.
Yep.
And so you can keep checking it out. And yeah, I'm looking forward to, honestly, I'll be sad this isn't going up on the YouTube channel because I do really love doing it here for y'all. But at the same time, I am very excited to get the time to, like, take a couple other swings. Like, this was swing one, and I'm looking forward to taking a lot of the other swings we have in the, I don't know, what do you hold swings in the set? It's a swing set?
Yeah, it swings in the set. I like it.
Yeah.
It's good. All right.
Any other questions that came up through chat while I was yammering?
No, I answered. If you notice me spacing out, I've been answering a lot
That's
of
what you were typing?
Vaguely off-topic questions that
right.
we don't need to answer right now. We'll be answering in the future. If you've been following along with Design Club, Jeff and I are going to talk about that on Thursday. Yeah.
But please enjoy the rest of the show, and thank you so much for coming along on this little experiment we did on the YouTube channel. I've dug the hell out of it.
I'm proud of the work we've done, and we're failing faster. I think we couldn't ask for anything more than that. All right, Matt. Are you ready?
Enough talk!
Enough talk! More talk! Are you ready for what may be the best story we've ever led with?
It's fun because it's an appetizer. We always call these appetizers, right?
Yeah.
This one is an actual food gaming thing.
Yes, it is.
I can't believe this is the thing.
All right, Matt.
William?
So, do you know what the problem is with your snack food, Matt?
I mean, a lot. There's
Sure,
a lot
right.
of problems.
Right. Arteries slip and slide. Right. No.
Yeah.
The problem with your snack food, Matt, is it's too loud. Too loud. You can't eat it while you're gaming, Matt. Like, even with chopsticks, right? I eat all my snacks with chopsticks. The first time Matt saw me doing it, it blew his mind because I don't want to get like Dorito dust or Cheez-It dust all over my keyboard, right? So chopsticks, right? But even with chopsticks, they're just too loud. Fortunately, Doritos has solved this problem. They have developed the first AI augmented snack, which will allow you to use an AI for the best reason anyone has ever used an AI to, in real time, cancel out the crunch of your Doritos as you talk into your microphone.
Fun fact, this is not sponsored. We have not tried this. This is just batty.
Yeah, it's absolutely just baffling,
Now,
and I love it.
I love the concept of it.
Sure.
What I don't love is going to a site that a snack chip sent me to and installing software on my computer that listens to me speak.
No, you know, that's fair. That seems like a downside. I'm going to go
That's a big downside. I'm saying what marketing mad lads burned the midnight cocaine to come up with this particular pitch.
How do we make Doritos relevant again? You know what the kids love? Gaming. You know what else the kids love? Artificial intelligence. What if we combine all three of those things and made gaming artificially intelligent Doritos?
But also made you shut the hell up. Like, that's the, like, it's...
Yep.
I don't get it. I get it. Practically, I will never test this. Theoretically, I am fascinated. Psychologically, doubly
Horrified.
so. No, but practically, I can't see this lasting long.
Yeah, don't. Just don't. But it is.
RC
it is,
Fox asking the real hard-hitting questions. Can you use it for Lay's? I don't know how specific the Doritos Crunch is.
Maybe we'll need to get a safe computer and do some testing on this.
Just what's the word when a computer's not hooked up to the internet?
Air gapped.
Yeah, we need to get an air-gapped PC to make sure.
Yeah. Right.
They should just get good and be able to eat Doritos noiselessly. Yeah. Yep. Anyway,
100%.
we thought this was very, very silly. Thank you, Doritos, for this thing no one asked for.
Yep.
Maybe people did. Maybe their marketing team is on point, and I'm just being a curmudgeon.
That seems fair. All right. Sorry. Sometimes when I load websites, it turns off dark mode, and I go temporarily blind on one side of my face, and it's awful.
I see. That was what the hissing was for, not for the delicious silent flavor of the snack chip that is totally bad for you.
That's correct.
Okay.
Yeah, that's correct. All right, next up on our list of appetizers, Matt, have you ever acquired a debt? Like, you ever borrowed money for like college? Most Americans are familiar with this, or a car or a house or whatever. All right, cool.
Yeah.
Right.
We live in a debting economy.
Right. Yeah. You're familiar with how much,
Enough debt. More debt.
Right. Exactly. All right. So in an attempt to recreate the crushing existential dread of debt, a gacha game has put its players in debt to them. So yeah, right. There's a new gacha game on the block. It's Taimanen RPG Ecstasy, except Ecstasy is missing its C, so it's EXTASY. It's
We'll give you 3 guesses as to what style this game is.
Right. Okay. Great. So they gave out a bunch of free currency as part of their launch celebration. This is pretty common for gacha games. But they gave out too much.
Their launch celebration, aka getting people addicted.
Right, yeah, no, 100%. First hit's free. So and then they realized they'd given out too much. So
Oopsie doodles.
So they, instead of just being like, our bad, we're not going to give out any more, they pulled back the too much currency that they'd given out and put players in debt.
Now, get this. You're not... So the crystals that they gave you... that you have spent or you could still spend, you can no longer earn any more crystals in-game for free while you have that debt still. Say you got 5,000 crystals or whatever, if you have that many left, you'd have to earn 5,000 crystals in-game before you could earn any actual new crystals.
Correct.
This does not count for crystals that you buy. You can't buy your way out of the debt.
That's correct. You have to work your way out of it.
But in a way, here's a fun conspiracy. What better way to say you can earn free currency in your game while also making it nigh impossible to not just buy the currency than give out a bunch of the currency, then go, oops, and then make you have to pay that back in your time.
Right. Yeah. I like Daft Techno's comment to this. I owe my soul to the company store.
This is nuts.
This is company store levels of like dark and bad. So yeah,
I'll go out on a limb and say never buy or give this game any money. How about that?
That's why their logo isn't here. Not only because we're pretty sure that if we showed you any screenshots from this game, we would immediately be demonetized, and Jeff would give both of us a stern talking to. It's don't Google the game. Just know that there is a gacha game that does this, and it's one of the big problems.
Then if you're going to engage with a gacha game, make sure it's not this one.
Right. Yeah, exactly. 100%.
We're not saying engage with those games. We're saying just
definitely not this one.
Not one that puts you in a virtual debtor's prison.
Yeah. Q&A asks,
nice.
Are they hiring Pinkertons? Not yet.
Give it time.
That's probably later in the corporate playbook. Okay, great, excellent. Let's keep moving it along to other things that represent late stage capitalism at its absolute worst. Matt.
Okay.
Let's talk about GameStop.
Oh boy. Oh boy. Oh boy.
So Kotaku's got this great article on how GameStop, every day, in every way, GameStop's getting worse. And yes, I did just reference the Muppets Christmas Carol, the best version of A Christmas Carol. You should watch it if you haven't already. And thinking about it will blunt the impact of this late-stage capitalism story.
It's perfect. Roller, I was thinking this exact same thing.
No, it's we stop the games.
And it's read like the Arby's We Got the Meats. GameStop. We stop the games. Like, it's very...
Yeah, right.
Perfect.
So, apparently, the pro rewards membership are going to be getting worse. The points that you earn for frequenting this pawn shop of video games frequently will be getting worse. You'll be able to use them on fewer things. You'll be getting fewer points. Because according to the email that they sent out, they are explicitly doing this, quote, to improve the profitability of the pro program, end quote. So,
hooray for saying the quiet part loud. Are they at a point where finance bros or whomever are just like, that's the whole game now? They don't have to do anything. They're also they're making it more expensive and worse for healthcare benefits. 401ks are going away for their employees. There's a bunch of other stuff that they're just cost cutting. Now, listen, we've talked about physical media in the past and how physical media stores are in decline. Best Buy has just recently stopped selling DVDs and Blu-rays, or they will be soon. And that makes me very, very sad. I don't like that at all. I also I made a comment earlier or I put a comment up. I think it was Lurker saying they missed Electronics Boutique, as do I. And then there was also one called Babbage's that was a local one, and I think GameStop might have bought them all up in some. I don't remember how the great franchise wars of malls during my teenage years went down, but the GameStop has just become either a meme stock or a place where every week on Reddit I see a sign outside of one of the stores like this from the workers being like, "This is garbage, we quit."
Yeah.
GameStop is a provable corporation that should no longer exist, but is zombified due to our financial systems and the way people play with it.
And I don't know if it's just me or if you've noticed this, chat, Brad, Janet. Okay. Is it just me, or is the lighting in GameStop getting worse? Right?
Well, they haven't changed the bulbs since 2004.
Well, right. Like the level of lighting and the number of flickering bulbs in GameStops just seems to be getting more consistent. Yeah. Right? And I don't know what to do with that. I don't know what to do about it, but it's still ridiculous.
It's time. This corporation needs to be put out of its misery, at least from the perception of selling games, because all they're doing now is, and like it even says this in the article, like their replacement programs are borderline scams. Yes. You go in and you buy a $500 PlayStation. This is something directly from the Kotaku article, and you get their $59.99 or $100 whatever replacement plan. And then something goes wrong with your PlayStation, you bring it back, they don't have to give you a new one. In fact, most times they'll give you a used one, and then they had a quote from someone in the GameStop in the article that was basically saying something along the lines of like, it's such a disaster, half of the pre-owns we get are either broken or we're in the home of a smoker, which means the console's gonna have less of a lifespan anyway.
Yep.
Like, nothing this company seems to do, no matter how many Think Geeks it eats.
Rest in peace,
right?
Think Geek, forever
Think
in
Geek
our
was
hearts.
great as a website and as a place. Like, I feel like my Christmas gifts from like 2004 to 2008 were choice thanks to Think Geek.
Although, worth noting, there was a Kickstarter recently to remake The Bag of Holding, which is probably one of the best things that Think Geek ever made.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, salutes in chat. Salutes in chat for Think Geek, man.
Think Geek.
And then the second I saw at the 34th Street GameStop in Manhattan, I saw that and it's like Think Geek, and I was like, what the hell? And then you go in and you look at all the stuff, and you're like, oh, this doesn't work in a retail environment.
It does not at all. It just looks bad.
Yeah, I still have so many Think Geek things. I have my Portal coasters I think I got from Think Geek.
Yep.
I'm trying to think if there's literally anything around my desk. There has to be somewhere. Regardless, GameStop bad. GameStop treats employees bad. GameStop not offering services to its customers well or treating them poorly, aka bad. And it is only alive due to the zombification of our financial system. Never shop there. Or I'll say, I will never shop there.
I won't either. I walk past it sometimes, and yeah, it makes me sad.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's it, Will. You know what? Yes, that's it. You nailed it in that very quick line. GameStop makes me sad.
That's correct.
And that should be the exact opposite of what seeing a GameStop does.
I don't know about you all, but we've talked a fair bit already about late-stage capitalism, and that makes me sad. And I don't want my entertainment venue to be the part of late-stage capitalism that is most making me sad.
Yeah. Right? Yeah, I'd say RIP to GameStop, but it died in 2011.
Yeah.
Moving on.
Absolutely. All right. Next up. Did you know, Matt, that there was a Twitch app on Switch?
No.
I say was because there isn't anymore. Turns out that they were like, yes, let's put a Twitch app on the Switch. And that way you'll be able to watch Twitch on your Switch. And
I'm sorry. Twitch on your Switch, which is a really good pitch.
Okay. Yeah.
For whatever your sitch.
Right.
My point is, there's lots of rhymes you could do to advertise this.
Correct.
And they didn't do any of them.
Absolutely. Here's the big problem. Some people have used this in chat. And for good reason, right? It's a backup device. If you're only on portables and you don't have a PC, and there are lots of reasons that people don't have PCs, you can do something on your tablet and put the Switch as the media center on your television, right? There's like a good reason for it to exist. The problem is, of course, that chatting, which is one of, in my opinion, the biggest drives of Twitch versus YouTube, right, is the live chat interaction experience, the previous bartender analogy. Doesn't work terribly well on the Switch for, again, a whole host of reasons, beginning with it doesn't have a keyboard. And the keyboard it does have is not great. Right? So you can't, it's very difficult to type quickly, especially if it's on your television, because then you have to type with a controller, and it's not good, right? So it's being depreciated. I believe it is no longer available in the eShop.
The store, and it'll be taken off, I think, at the beginning of the new year.
Correct, yeah.
And I think with the ubiquity of the iPhone and the Android apps, like, chances are you have another portable thing that allows you to actually interact easier than the Switch did. I know that's not every user case, and that does stink. But this seems understandable, especially because before today I didn't know it existed, and I don't think a lot of people did.
Correct. We're also not in the target market demographic, right? Hey, Matt, how many monitors your computer got?
2.
Right, mine got 3. When I'm editing...
Well, actually, 3 if you count the Commodore 64 one right here.
Yeah, it's pretty good, right? You can watch Twitch on a Commodore 64. I'm sorry to everyone. All of the work for this week is getting delayed. Matt's going to watch CRT Twitch later on.
I need to write a note to myself. Keep going.
So, this is, you know, it will make it slightly harder for some people to watch, but we're not in the target demographic, so we don't have like a deep emotional connection to it. Some people in Brad are saying that they do.
And that stinks for y'all.
It absolutely does. Making it harder to consume media is not a thing that companies should be doing. Right? Hot piping, spicy hot take. Media should be in more places so you can watch it however works for you.
Here's a thought. Now, this is complete guesswork.
Yeah, conjecture.
But the Switch 2 there's been talks of it. We've talked about it on this show, what's going to happen, etc. And I'm not saying Nintendo's track record for these type of programs on their systems is terrible. But if they were to try to make something a little more integrated in the same way that Xbox and PlayStation is with the Twitch thing, it would make sense to kind of deprecate this over here on their first console as well. Again, I think that's more wishful thinking on my part than reality. It's funny. Oh, sorry.
There is some news about the Switch 2, which makes sense. There's been a patent issued and not a lot more. It didn't make the full story list, but it bears mentioning here. There is a Switch, there's a patent that they got for a multi-screen device that looks kind of like the Switch. It's sort of like a sliding clamshell. And that would make sense because then you could keyboard on the lower touchscreen and watch on the upper touchscreen. It's sort of like a sidekick, which most of people in chat probably don't remember, but some of you do.
Some of you do.
Who remembers,
some of you do.
Who remembers
and don't act like you don't.
Sidekicks and slide phones. That was a whole thing.
The first droid.
I had that droid.
I had
that droid, right?
Yeah, we had that droid.
We had that droid.
Droid bros. And just the reason why we weren't talking about the Switch 2, other than when we just talked about the Switch 2, was that patents by companies get made all the time. There are things that never see the light of day. It's more of a precautionary thing in case something comes up that they can do.
Yep, absolutely. Cool, great, excellent. The last of, hopefully, what are the... Matt, I just realized that our entire appetizer section today is capitalism continues to do a capitalism. And I'm sorry.
Is it just things ending? Hold on. Let me just look down the list. So, no. Doritos
is a symptom of capitalism, but yes, it's not. It's capitalism doing capitalism. I didn't say ending.
It's capitalism's younger cousin, advertising.
I would argue that advertising is a symptom of capitalism, just like a fever is a symptom
like a cousin would be. A cousin is a symptom of you. Listen,
is that how that works?
Yeah. I have family and I'm a human with soft skin and totally not a robot. I understand how this works. Yeah, gotcha games. So they're screwing with the currency. GameStop continues to GameStop. Twitch is pulling. Yeah, okay. All right. Every one of them, including Doritos, is a capitalism. Oops, all capitalism.
And now, speaking of oops, all capitalism, salutes in chat for the staff at Bungie. Matt, do you know when this story broke?
I don't actually. I read about it
While I was
last night.
editing last week's episode. As per usual, if you're unfamiliar with it, we are quasi-cursed. There will always be a more interesting story that breaks Monday afternoon. And by the time our show comes out on Tuesday, that story on Monday afternoon means that the show's already out of date.
Yeah.
That's just the news cycle, baby.
Yeah, it happens. Regardless, Bungie, man. Something I think a little lower than 10% of the workforce over there, including some high-profile people.
Yep, very high
that's
profile.
Just awful. And okay, this is where we get into, because again, Will and I are not on the inside at Bungie or any of the parent companies or any of that stuff, but this, like the communication from the Bungie team about this, and then some hearsay based on an earnings call as to why they were doing this, all kind of points some fingers toward, well, and they don't say this explicitly, but the way the vibe moves towards it is like, oh, well, we had to lay these people off due to the waning player base. Right. Now, that feels true. I feel like, despite the fact I still will die on the hill that Destiny and Destiny 2 have some of the best feeling shooting mechanics in the game and are incredibly fun to engage with, I haven't engaged with them in 2 or 3 years, more than that, I think, on an active level.
Yeah, we tried.
We did try.
We tried on stream together for 2 hours with chat's help to determine how to begin playing Destiny 2 again, unsuccessfully. And like, we're both professionals in the gaming sphere, right? Like, you could even call us professional video game players, right? Like, we don't play at a competitive level. We're not competitive professionals, but like, we are, part of our jobs is understanding video games. And with all of that and 2 hours and chat's help and Destiny players in chat, it was just a brick wall of re-entry. Right?
So one of the main problems, I think, is that, and I know then there's the Sony of it all, because Sony bought them, but I weirdly at this point, other than me thinking that Sony should have swooped in to help a bit more in this scenario, like the layoffs, as far as we can tell, are not Sony's doing. It is internal at Bungie based on other things. Regardless, they're all, though, I really hate this. There are people that are being laid off whose stock options will not appreciate due to being terminated, that they would have made money off of the Sony acquisition that now they won't. Yes. And that is awful.
Yep. There's also some chatter going around that it was done on the 30th to avoid having to pay an extra month of benefits and keep costs as low as possible. Because
it's possible. There are, from what I understand, there are laws in place that like actually like that's harder to do, but that also doesn't mean that someone didn't stupidly attempt that. So the vibe check is that, well, falling player base means they had to cut down on staff. But yet in their thing to fans, they're like, we're going to focus on making, what is it? What's the newest? I can't even remember.
The Last Light, I think.
Is it Last Light?
Maybe. Final Shape.
Final Shape. Lastly, there's always 3 words. That the Final Shape they're saying is going to be like the best one ever and like bringing us back to this, that, and the other thing. And like, okay, but you just let go a lot of your people. And many people in Bungie were saying for a long time, like, hey, what we're doing isn't working. Like, there's problems with onboarding new players. There's problems with monetization. There's problems with how the game is marketed and sold and how we interact and deliver content across the thing. And people were kind of kicking and screaming in the dev department, so it seemed. And no one changed anything. And then numbers plummeted. And again, I am simplifying. like incredibly. There are more complex things going on, I'm sure, behind the curtain than I know, but that's the vibe of the entire thing. And it stinks terribly to be laid off from a job that you love. And it feels like from all the messages on Twitter and on Blue Sky that like this is a place that people legitimately like felt like there was their work home.
Yeah.
But it doubly stinks to be basically the person who's like shooting the flare gun, like, hey, we need help. This is not right. This is not working for years. And then be let go because it's not working. Yeah. And there have been people who are asking, what the heck is the CEO guy's name who, Pete Parsons, who basically said it was a sad day and yada, 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 because of course it is. He's also been ratioed on a lot of his stuff on the social medias, and people were asking the executive, and this is from a Kotaku thing, if he ever considered taking a pay cut before deciding who to lay off.
Good, good questions. I like when people get asked those questions that make them uncomfortable and squirmy.
But at the same time, not uncomfortable enough and not squirmy enough.
Yeah, absolutely. 100%.
Yeah. This makes me really sad. Destiny was a game that I engaged with super hard until Destiny 2 came out, and then I was in it for a minute. And then just due to life and whatever, you sometimes have to step away from lifestyle games. It was never, in my opinion, my journey at the end of Destiny 2 for me was never because the game was falling off. It was because I got busy. And then when I was had some time again, I wanted to get back on here. And I couldn't easily. It just made it more confusing, and it was not a fun experience. Actually, I'm curious in chat or in Janet for the show's comments. What, if you played Destiny, what was your favorite expansion and why? And the reason I want to kind of know that is I want to see if we can glean like what
fell off.
Well, not only where it fell off, but like why it fell off. Like people loved X, Y, and Z. People loved like the community events, or they loved like a stronger narrative through line that was clearer. Something like that. I feel like is an important thing to glean.
Yep.
Because after a while, I'll admit, even from looking at Destiny from the outside in, everything still looked the same. Like, I know there were new 3-letter words on the expansions, and I know there was a new galaxy-ending tyrant or problem or entity coming.
Right.
But, like, everything felt the same. Yeah. And that made it even harder to latch on. Like, it's bad when I'm like, oh, man, the days of the Destiny 1 grimoire that I had to read on my phone was clearer from a story and lore perspective than what they are doing right now.
Yeah. So the mine's vanilla D2. I ran the Emperor raids in vanilla D2. It was awesome. I loved it.
Yeah. Yeah, and there was also the stuff too. Team Worm brings up something about this isn't the exact thing, but it came up on the thing about things being taking away leveled up exotics or taking away I remember we talked about the story where they started to take content away. I thought that could be a positive because you'd want to streamline your story and you want to make sure that things are making sense and it was easy for people to get on, and that would give them the opportunity to possibly rework that. But they didn't. They just put more stuff on, or they didn't do it enough. It didn't come across. Again, I haven't gone deep enough into it.
Yeah. Yep. Anyway, Matt, speaking of MMOs and making major changes that are shaking things up, are you ready?
That is a Taylor Swift reference.
All right. Let's talk.
She sold 3% of albums this year.
Yeah. Taylor, like the number of times I've seen the clip of her showing up in blue dresses that one night when she was going to announce the new album, and like everyone in the crowd knew it was happening, and then her last dress was also blue, and everyone just went like absolutely bananas, and the whole crowd exploded. Yeah. Anyway, the Eras Tour is people will write sociology PhDs on the Eras Tour. I'm not kidding, and I'm not being like trivial about it. It is a bananas phenomena. Yeah. All right.
So let's caveat, because I want to talk about World of Warcraft as an entity, but
Yes.
before then, we know it's Blizzard.
Yep.
We know the acquisition has just happened. We know that monopolies are bad.
Yep.
Maybe I'm stupid, but I want to believe that things that I loved can be redeemed.
Yeah.
Maybe stupid's wrong. Naive. Or I could be stupid. I don't know.
Both. I've been stupid.
So we're going to talk about the announcements at BlizzCon.
Specifically the WoW announcements.
The WoW announcements. There were other announcements that, whatever.
Yeah.
But again, that's personal taste. I don't want to. I used to watch before Blizzard, before it was known that Blizzard was an absolutely terrible place and a shell of its former self. I used to like do the virtual ticket. I used to get the stuff and watch it. I remember I was in Amsterdam for a European Music Awards. And like, I didn't go to sleep when we were done out at night at like 3 a.m. because I was like, oh wait, I can watch BlizzCon. Like, I was in this.
Oh, to be young.
Yeah. Oh, to be, actually, I wasn't that young. Anyway, but
to be motivated? I don't know.
Oh, to not have a lot of gaming companies be bad places for people to work.
Yeah.
So I used to be into this a lot more than I was. And while I am hopeful, and we've talked about it, we have a bunch of episodes you can go back and watch about our opinions on this. The Blizzard of it all is over there. I want to talk about what is specifically happening with World of Warcraft.
Yeah.
Sorry, Will?
So first of all, you already highlighted it. Best response to World of Warcraft announcing an expansion called The War Within goes to Rebecca Ford of Digital Extremes, who tweeted, "No, don't drink the Kuva, Anduin," which is a hilarious crossover joke if you've played both World of Warcraft and Warframe.
World of Warcraft frame.
Yeah, World of Warcraft frame.
Confirmed.
That's Soulsframe. That's the other new frame game that's coming out that will be more like Warcraft in that it won't be about space ninja wizards.
I see.
Yeah.
So a couple things about this. So, Will, your history was you really never played World of Warcraft much.
It's been in my sphere, but I have not been one who's played much. I played a tiny bit in college, and by a tiny bit, I mean like hours. Like not enough to say I really played, but like I've watched a fair amount, particularly in the recent days, with people returning to Blizzard, right? Nature is healing. People are returning to World of Warcraft sort of like thing.
I was saying as a joke, but maybe it's not a joke. On New Year's Day, I'd do a Hearthstone stream because Bobby Kotick would no longer be working there.
You'll have all of the party streamers and the hats and the noisemakers, right? So it could be a party.
But oh my God, Eternal, I love you so much. This is amazing. This is so good. This is so good.
I think the real joy of this episode is I brought the comments back.
Yeah. I did an entire MMORPG because of Hearthstone. Yeah, they did. I played in college. We've talked about it before. I feel like I trot this old chestnut out a lot, but I stopped after Pandaria, and I got my figure print of my warlock of Dimitri. He's asleep in his farmhouse, and he hasn't been awoken in like 7 or 8 years. But he's always here because, again, I've talked about MMOs in the past. How I have memories hanging out with my friends in them that feel as real life do.
Yeah, because MMOs are a digital space that allows real friendships. Yeah.
And you have talked about that with 14, and you found a lot of that with the EC community over there, and that's very, very cool. So all of that is to say, with the announcements of the new Warcraft expansion, and with some adjustment in narrative direction, or at least I forget the actual. I'm trying to think where. So Chris Metzen is back.
Yeah, that's a big one.
Executive creative director of Warcraft.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people, again, I've fallen out of the story of Warcraft, but it used to be excellent, and then it was waning, and then I think the latest Sylvanas storyline really rubbed people a lot of the wrong way because of they basically like forgot how characters acted and they just started making odd decisions. It's when someone didn't do their homework and they don't care and they just want to keep a story moving.
Right. And so lots of people have sort of favorably compared this long arc view that they're taking, because they didn't just announce The War Within. They also announced Midnight and The Last Titan, which collectively will make up a thing called the Worldsoul Saga. And that long arc view of the story is something that people are very interested in, because it feels much more like
original crafter or one of the main people that was involved in crafting the story is back to tell a story that is going back to the roots of what the game's story was about.
Yes.
And that, look, Kismet being whatever it is, with all of the things that are happening on a corporate level of the company that makes this game, and this happening, it feels like this is an opportunity to do a reset. Will they squander it? I have no idea. But there's enough goodwill. This is how, check this out. You know how I know, even though I want to not care about Warcraft, how much I still care about Warcraft? You know how with your Twitch account, you get like freebies? And they'll be like, there's packs of Hearthstone cards you can get there, like 3 packs or whatever. And there's all different games. There's a bunch of Blizzard games on there.
That's with your Prime
Prime subscription, you get like access to these things.
You should use here.
Yes. Oh, please. We would happily take $5 of Jeff Bezos' money, should you be so inclined to put it in our digital coffer.
Yeah. Right.
Every time I see that list, I grab whatever Hearthstone one is because I still play it, and I grab every World of Warcraft thing. I have not booted up World of Warcraft in easily, I think, 8 years. Maybe a little sooner. There was one time, I think Scott wanted to start an EC, like a crew, just hang out and play thing, and we played maybe once or twice. But I still grab all of the dumb mounts or the cosmetics or whatever for free, and I do not touch Overwatch. I do not touch Diablo. And I'm like, those are 2 game properties that I loved intensely, but I have distanced myself from.
Yeah.
And for whatever reason, I see a tiger mount that was no plan on using, and I'm like, okay. And I click that, and I claim it.
Yeah.
And that to me says that this game has a, for better or worse, hold on me.
Yes.
And so the announcement like this feels exciting. I do want to bring up some trepidation, however, because it is doing a lot of the, I'm going to talk about the things we've talked about in the past that technically aren't always great, but then I want to pass it over to Will, because Will had a really, really, really interesting take on this story.
Yeah.
So we now know the next 3 expansion titles and story arc very lightly for the next 3 Warcraft expansions, World of Warcraft. Also, if you have not watched the cinematic trailer for The War Within, I haven't watched the latest Warcraft CG things. I feel like they went a little bit cartoony back to, like, not that that's bad, but like they did more like hybrid in-game footage stuff, it felt like, for a lot of their trailers. Mm-hmm. This is some of the best human face like rigging in a stylistic sense of an emotional moment that I've seen in a long time.
Yeah.
Please go watch that. The thing I'm not sure about is they're doing basically the roadmap thing. Now, for an MMO, that's a little bit different than, say, a Destiny, like that said, or Evolve or Anthem, like, because it has the lasting track record and whatever. I think I would have honestly liked a little less promise and a little less information in that way. Like, why don't you prove you got us back and then go into it? But there's something to be said about like knowing that there is a plan that you can sort of link onto.
Right.
But then, Will, you said that this style of announcement or story or everything felt very familiar to you.
Yeah, this feels like they're taking the and it's not the whole queue. I feel like they may have missed some of the reasons that this works for Final Fantasy, but this feels like a long arc Final Fantasy story. this feels very much like taking a very long arc view. So, for reference, if you're here because we're talking about WoW, Final Fantasy XIV had one contiguous story from the beginning of 2.0 through more or less to the end of 6.5. Like, it's all followed the same characters in the same arc, including your character, who is the first person character. It's much less about interacting with what other people are doing and much more about you doing it, which is one of the big differences I don't think they've hit on. But this very long arc view of giving the story and the characters time to grow and evolve and be written contiguously and then pay out as a whole rather than per expansion, I think is a really solid take. And it's one of the things that a lot of people, when they've started 14 from WoW, have praised, is that the story is at the forefront of it. And I don't know that that's the case, but the way that this announcement came out with them having story beats plotted out 3 expansions in advance and having a name for the overarching title really sparked my interest. And we'll see if I'm right or wrong. Again, we've only got the fluffiest of fluff pieces off of their
quintessential con that their entire thing is based off. I'm like, it's
yeah. So I'm gonna say that I'm hopeful that they have learned that lesson, because I think that will be good, right? One of the main complaints that I've heard from about WoW is that you're sort of just ancillary to other NPCs doing all the cool stuff, which fair. And that it feels very reset-y, that each expansion is like its own little island and everything resets, right? And I feel like
there's story threads, but not something that feels like a continuous. I mean, here's the truth of it. It feels like a series of one-shots in the same world as opposed to one long campaign. Like every WoW expansion feels like, and then this, and then this. Whereas it's not like, and there are characters that have interactions or relationships that affect that story, but the story itself feels a lot of times bolted on.
Yep. And then, I'm not going to comment on the rest of there was much more to that announcement. But I, as a not WoW player, don't have the context for a lot of like the changes that they're making. I'm going to be watching WoW very interesting. I wonder if this is a new renaissance for WoW that shows that they've really learned a bunch of lessons from the world that they've sort of found themselves in, where they are,
Haven VTuber nails some things here. 3 things they got from the announcement that they don't trust, but they don't trust that they can accomplish after 15 years of WoW player, are basically focus on evergreen features with new systems, something for everyone, and build on the philosophy of respecting the player's time. That is a hard list of things to do, especially when your pedigree is less of those things.
Absolutely.
I
think the other thing too is that I'm approaching Blizzard with cautious optimism at this point, and that extends to all of their properties, right? As they find themselves under new leadership and as properties get really rolled through, right? It probably won't affect Overwatch 2 or Diablo 4 because those are relatively recent and sort of standalone. Like, Overwatch is supposed to be a lifestyle thing, but like it feels like there'll probably be an Overwatch 3 at this rate, and Diablo 4 is lifestyle-ish, but I gotta believe there will also be a Diablo 5. World of Warcraft doesn't fall into those categories because they are, weirdly, as the MMO in the room, more capable of pivoting expansion to expansion, which is so weird. It's so weird that a company's most nimble property is their MMO. That's bananas. Right. But I do feel like WoW is kind of the emblematic. All right, we're going to do things differently. Here's our pivot. Here's our change.
Yeah. I hope that, and this is why I go back to the Blizzard of it all. Hey, Microsoft, I know you're watching. Bill, even though you're not really in control, you're the figurehead. Any questions?
Yeah.
I want companies to realize when a corporate decision is positively noticed by a community. And for me personally, and I feel like it's like been my crusade at this point, but like with Bobby gone, with the old head of Activision Blizzard King gone at the end of the year, that to me feels like a fair point to reassess and hopefully start like paying attention to again, and not forgiving, but like letting, like not just holding on to a terrible thing from the past with this stuff, if that makes sense. Like, let's see what you do now. And with this announcement, I never thought I would be remotely excited for a WoW expansion. And I don't even know if I don't even know if I have time to even go back. But the point is, this, for all of the reasons that we've listed, felt different from the last 5 years of World of Warcraft announcements that have bounced off me. Yeah, new guy kind of hits it pretty good. Give him a chance to do better.
That's it. That's all we want. We want it.
And in the world of these giant as hell corporations, those opportunities, even though they are baked into something that intrinsically I think will be the downfall of a bunch of things, big, that everything is consolidating. Those opportunities are very few and far between to come by for something this big. So it's here now. You have the opportunity, you have the hype. The proverbial giant world-slaying sword is in your court, Blizzard.
Right. Absolutely.
I don't know. I don't know. I'm hopeful, but that's bit me in the butt before.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, are you ready for what may be, in my humble opinion, the best advertising campaign for a video game ever?
Ah, the dessert, if you will.
Indeed. After all of this, we need to talk about Talos Principle 2. Because, you may note, this is not a screenshot from Talos Principle 2. Devolver Digital, publisher of Talos Principle, hired the original voice actor for GLaDOS to play through Talos Principle as GLaDOS to advertise the game. Phenomenal. No notes. No notes at all. Perfection. Absolute stinking perfection.
It's great. It's great.
Perfection, right?
It's so good. I'm looking forward to watching it. I cannot wait. The only thing I worry about is, like, will a lot of people just watch that and not play the Talos Principle?
Sure, maybe. But
it will at least get it out there. It'll, yeah.
Yep. I'm very excited.
What a fun.
What a great idea.
Fit idea.
Yeah, right. Devolver continues to knock their marketing out of the park. Like, really, Devolver is sort of one of my favorite mid-tier publishers. They're just like, yeah, we're doing this and we're committing to this 150%. Let's go. Great. I love it. Okay. Matt, for the last time, we need
For now.
we got to talk about questions and comments from Janet.
Woo!
First off, we played some spooky sounds last week.
We did. Again, that's the Discord Halloween music.
Yep.
We do not have a link for it because we do not own it. Don't tell them we played it.
Yeah, that's right.
It's funny. I don't even have it on my board anymore, so I can't play it again. It's gone. It's ephemeral. It's Halloween's over.
Right. We asked you what you thought the scariest sound in gaming was. And James Matheson said, and I love this, the scariest sound in gaming is sudden, inexplicable silence. Yes. That's the worst. That is absolutely the, like... How
did you take that comment? Are you saying, like, when a game drops its sound out? Or are you saying, like, when you read Ring of Death? Because I took it as the latter. Oh, like, your game just stops, and you're like, oh, no.
No, I heard it as like the moment when there's like a big powerful background track or something, and you just like you walk through a seam or a zone or something, and then there's silence.
Yeah.
And maybe there's some atmosphere, and you're like, where'd my music go? Where was the everything? What's gonna get me? Why is there's a save point and a pile of health packs? Stop it! Stop it!
Someone else also said the clicker noise is pretty good as far as scary noises go. And then there's a ... that says, haha, that sonic drowning noise came up right as I was typing. That's from True Perception. Thank you very much. That is exactly what I wanted. That moment, True Perception, that you had was, even if it was only you, that was the exact thing I was like, this needs to occur somewhere else due to this show. So thank you very much for that and typing that out.
Yep. Also, so we got many comments, many comments on Matt's fantastic costume from last week.
Yeah, it's still half here.
Yeah.
Slowly, I'm pushing the beard back out as quickly as I can.
Zoe wants to do face massage to help it.
Now she's just pushing her face into my face. I did wear flannels this weekend, and I looked rustic AF. Like, it was weird. I don't know. Like, I felt like if I walked into a hardware store, I would have gotten respect, which is something that doesn't normally happen.
Yeah. So Matt should play Gomez more often, lots more often, from Joseph Teller. One of many comments about Matt's commitment to the Gomez Adam bits. Big fan of that.
Yeah, thank you.
Next up, from Jedi Ant. On the subject of someone doing everything they can to tell Nintendo to shove it about Smash, Linus Tech Tips is looking to whether or not they can break literally every rule, or as many as possible, that Nintendo's put forth on the subject of tournaments. This is they discussed on one of their shows, and they look forward to doing what actually becomes of it, because he's essentially doing a come at me, bro, for Nintendo's rules. There were lots of comments about whether or not why and whether or not Nintendo has the authority to exert this control over the things that are done with their properties after purchase. Again, we are not lawyers. We don't even pretend to be lawyers on the internet.
I've only done that once, and then I promised to never do it again.
Right, and that's still a binding contract. That whole saga is going to be very interesting, and I'll be very interested to see what happens with Linus. Linus notoriously does not like Nintendo's DRM. The first thing he did for the new Zelda game was he ripped it off his Switch cartridge and put it on his Steam Deck. Very first thing he did. And like flagrantly told everyone how to do it. He's not been in Nintendo's good graces before, so this will be an interesting showdown.
It'll be curious. It'll if anything, it will bring up, maybe hopefully for future litigation or law findings, what a company can do with its or can control with its product once it's sold. Because, like, here's a question. This is an odd continuation, and it makes no sense. Just go Catan, Settlers of Catan. I buy it, and then I throw a tournament.
Mm-hmm.
I throw a Catan tournament. I buy 10 copies of Catan, and we go and we do it. Now, when you start advertising that tournament or like whatever, I could see like, oh, you can't use the logo, you can't do this thing, you can't do that. But like, I'm wondering what the legal difference is for.
I'm not sure that there is one. It's and we talked about this a bit with our lawyer friends when we did an episode on what you can do with the games that you purchase.
Yeah, shout out to Joe and Jonathan.
Yeah, regarding Minecraft, we did that over on Design Club. Lots of companies are more permissive. That doesn't mean you have a universal right to do that thing, but it does mean that lots of companies are fine with you doing it. They just don't exert the control that they inherently have to stop you from doing it. And Nintendo is far more restrictive about that.
Yeah.
Right? The joke is Nintendo don't. And that's
well, that came from Sega.
Yeah, it's fair.
Sega does what Nintendo don't was their ad campaign for a while.
Correct. And it's still somewhat applicable.
Yeah.
And then to go along with that, Pseudopod says, my understanding is that Nintendo's tournament guidelines are comparable to the guidelines from other fighting games. They are more restrictive than other companies, but not massively so. Also, as an aside, Matt went all in on Gomez acting, and it was fantastic. Oh. that intro, the riff on the mamushka.
It was really fun.
It was really good. I liked it a lot. I went back and rewatched parts of the episode because I had to read through the comments. And I love that bit.
It was very good.
Yeah. So, I think it'll be very interesting to see how Nintendo shakes out with that in the future, but who knows?
Yeah. Well, everybody, thanks so much for joining us for Games for Breakfast. Please, again, Will, throw up that reciprocal QR code.
I was on my way to do it as you said it.
If you like this show and you want to come hang out and watch, by all means, please come over to click and then leave a follow. The shows what?
Chat's already.
Oh, hey, a QR code. Yeah, people are. Yeah, there it is. No, I was just gonna say, even if you can't make it for the time that we record, because we understand people have lives, especially on Monday morning, there will be the highlights that you can actually watch over there. Like you can watch this just as we did, and it should be the same as it ever was. It just won't be to you here. And also, actually, do me a favor. Leave in the comments, even though there's no promise of any of this in the near future, where you would like to see content like this. Would it be an audio podcast? Is it on a third channel? Is it on other ideas? Again, we can't implement them anytime soon. Or even, how about this? Do you have any ideas that you would like to see that would better fit into our non-scattershot zeitgeist?
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Because we're always interested to do that. We're probably going to, I'm guessing sometime in the new year, when we have a little bit of time overall as a studio, we want to put out on both channels, sort of, we do, on Extra History and Extra Credits, we do surveys for everyone to let us know what people like, what people would like to see more of, what things people like to see less, et cetera, et cetera. And so we'll be doing that as well as we start developing other stuff. But we are very excited to get to try out some of the other oddities that we have in store for you on the Extra Credits YouTube channel. And now we will have a little bit of time to move that forward.
Yep.
Anything else, Will?
No, Matt, I think that all that is left for us for this episode of Games for Breakfast and for Games for Breakfast in this run on YouTube, for you to do that classic sign-off that we always do.
Oh, the one that's the same every single time.
That's right.
That I totally don't think of in the moments when I keep talking about how it's the same every single time, like I'm buying some sort of inevitable ending to a show that I don't have yet in my consciousness. But I'm hoping that if I speak long enough, I'll reach out and be able to grab the non-tangible entity that will be the thing that, of course, everyone already knows because we do it every time.
That one. Yes, exactly.
Job's done.